This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Audrey Kidwell with Volunteer Florida. I'm in the room with Kat Keene, and thank you again for joining this webinar. We're just going to do some updates to the National Service Criminal History Check. The Corporation for Community and National Service has released some updates, and so we wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of them.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining the call. This is Kat. And this call will be recorded and available and sent to you all as well after today. So you all may have seen some of the National Service Criminal History Check updates come out from our office. We hope so. And I'll just share a quick update. So as you know, the Corporation for National and Community Service is the funder of the Volunteer Generation Fund in Florida and much of our work. And they've introduced a new approach to National Service Criminal History Checks. And really because they want to address the noncompliance in the field nationally. So this refers to AmeriCorps, to other streams of service, and to the Volunteer Generation Fund. What we understand is that there is an exemption period right now, and grantees are encouraged to rerun their criminal history checks using the vendor's field print and TruScreen. And so just to clarify, it's a little different than what you see on the screen, but field print is used for FBI and state, and TruScreen is used for the NSOPW checks. We believe that this will be the required vendors to use in the future. So if you are a VGF grantee in year 1, year 2, especially, we want you to be aware of this. Organizations, you can continue to use your currently approved procedure if it is in compliance and if it is working for you to check your staff background checks. But you do have the option of rerunning those and changing to the new process during the exemption period.
And so I kind of wanted to go over what the current policy was, or what you guys were provided when the contract period started in October 1. And so again, a lot of the information on the current process can be found in many different ways. It's in the RFP documentation that we send out when you apply. There's an online training that you've had to do through Litmus with CNCS. There's the Exhibit 3 that was found in the contract package. There was the VGF contract and a contract webinar where we discussed it, and we also went over the current processes at the training. And then for some of you, there have been individual one-on-ones with if there's been further explanation. And so pretty much basically how it's been, the current process is you would complete an Exhibit 3 for all of the staff that are charged to the grant, which in this case for VGF is a maximum of 2 people. And then you would follow the 3-part background check. You would do the NSOPR or the NSOPW based on the website we provided. And then you would do a state of residency and a fingerprint-based check. And those, again, as Kat's mentioned, you could have gone to almost any place, with whether it's the sheriff's station or the school board and whatnot. And so as long as those fell within the grant year and were considered compliant, then they were fine. So that's like the current process for most of you that have come on in October 1, so you should all be familiar with that. But we kind of just wanted to highlight the current, so then when we move forward, it's a little easier to understand.
Thanks, Audrey. So a little bit about the exemption period. CNCS is offering this exemption period now through March 31st, 2019. And what that means is organizations have the option to rerun background checks through TruScreen and FieldPrint before March 31st, 2019. And the reason there's this opportunity is, again, because of the noncompliance found in the field. And so if there was an audit or an IPR review or anything like that, organizations that participated in the exemption period would be basically exempt for those findings. We strongly encourage you to use the exemption period to avoid future cost disallowance. So for those of you that have had challenges, or if there are any of you that haven't yet completed your criminal history checks on staff, you would be ideal organizations to engage in this exemption period. The other thing I'll add is that if you were currently using a partner like a school board, DCF, other partners that run your criminal history checks for your staff. That we understand that would not be allowable in future years, and that organizations would need to use these two vendors. So again, if you're an organization that is in year 1 or year 2, this would be something for you to explore. There's a lot of resources on it, and Volunteer Florida staff has been engaged in learning as this rollout continues about all the resources for this. But again, that's a little bit about the exemption period. It runs through March 31st. And so to highlight our recommendations, it's not required. So the exemption period usage of these two vendors is not currently required at this time, but strongly encouraged. You can continue to use your alternative approved background check vendors. But it is recommended that if you're having challenges that you engage in TruScreen and FieldPrint now, or if you have new staff coming on board, engaging the TruScreen and FieldPrint procedures now. And there are dollars, if you need to do a budget revision, that could assist you to cover the cost of the new checks as well.
Okay. And so here is some information, and again, this will be recorded and I'll send out like a one-pager as well. Again, just with TruScreen and FieldPrint, many of you that were grantees this year and last year have started using FieldPrint as the FBI check, so many of you are already kind of familiar with that. It will just be TruScreen, which will be an additional process. But the cost for all of the checks combined is $36.25 per person that you're running the check on. So again, it'd only be max of 2 people for the VGF grant. And so here is a resource that can kind of give you more information on how to set up your accounts. But many of you are already really familiar with FieldPrint, which is really great. It would just be, again, adding a TruScreen account so you can get those checks done. And then, again, these will be sent out. These are the resources for the exemption period. There's a manual for FieldPrint and TruScreen, and then there's some other webinars that CNCF has provided for people if they need further information or explanation.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
And so the most helpful thing, I think, would be the FAQs and the webinars, because the webinars walk you through exactly how to set up these accounts with TruScreen and FieldPrint. And to clarify, if you're using a FieldPrint account now, it needs to be linked to CNCF to be considered allowable. So you may be using a FieldPrint that's not associated with the CNCF kind of partnership. And if that's the case, please connect with us, because we want to make sure to link you and get your existing account associated with that CNCF account. Because many people in the country use FieldPrint, but we want to make sure it's associated with CNCF, and there's a process for that. But I want you to know we've reviewed all of these resources at length, and we think they're very helpful, but it's pretty dense material, so we're happy to help walk you through it if need be.
Are there any general questions? If you have a specific question to your program, it's probably best to just email me, one, so we have record, and then that way I feel like each program will have a unique situation. But if there are any like general questions, we would love to hear it now. But if not, you have something super specific to your program, please email me at Audrey@Volunteer Florida.
Are there any questions that we can answer on the call?
I do see that someone had written, if they've already gone through FieldPrint, do we need to do it again? And as Kat mentioned, we just need to make sure that it is linked to the CNCS requirement, or the way that they have it for CNCS. And so if you can just email me, because it just says no name at the moment, if you can email me your name and program, we can make sure that that's linked.
We see another question. Do I need to run the check if I am in year 3? Again, Volunteer Florida is not requiring organizations to rerun the check, but we do want to let you know about the exemption period, and rerunning the check does make you compliant if there is any other future audit finding. So it is not a requirement, just encouraged.
Okay, and the last thing I have are just some reminders, since I have you all here as a captive audience. We do have a webinar next Monday, February 11th. It's about spontaneous volunteers in disasters, and so Christy Rojas from Volunteer Florida's Emergency Management Team will be leading that. I highly recommend that you sign up to listen to that and participate. Again, invoices are due the 15th of each month. You're still required to email me if you're not going to be submitting one. There will be a mid-year report due April 15th, and you'll be getting information for that about a month in advance, so about mid-March. And then if you have a budget revision or you need to do one for rerunning your background checks, you have until June 1st to do so, but I highly recommend that you do it sooner than later. Okay, so thank you so much, and again, this recording will be sent out to every single person along with the resource guide.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.